Hi, this is Dave and welcome to the Table, a series of videos where I review and discuss various board and card games, looking at them from a family perspective. Today we're going to be taking a preview at Los Cthuluchadores, Elder Things in the Wrestling Ring by Heresy Research Labs. Now, this game is for 2 to 4 players where you take on the role of a Cthulhu-esque luchador wrestler, battling it out in the ring in an attempt to squeeze the ooze out of your opponents and win over the crowd into your favor and make them your own cultists. Let's take a look at this game and how it's played, and I'll come back and I'll give you my thoughts. Let's take a look at all of the components that are going to come in Los Cthuluchadores. And the first thing we're going to have here is our play board, which is a wrestling ring here, and you can see all the action is going to take place in the middle in these spaces. And then the outside here, we have some of the stands where the fans are going to be, and then we also have some of these ooze pits that are along the outside. Next, each of the 4 different characters that come in the game, there's 4 of them here. We've got a blue, a green, a brown, and a red. So we can see these right here. They're going to come with these little slide mats that are going to control the amount of damage and how much ooze we can spew out. And there is for an advanced game or a basic game. So the game actually has 2 different playing modes. Each of the players will have their own deck, and they'll have some basic moves here, and then they'll also have a bunch of signature moves that can be used. There will be a player token that will be used on the board, and there is a little arrow that's on here up at the top right here that shows the orientation as to which way they're facing. There's also going to be a number of these cultist markers, and as you perform moves and win over the fans, you'll be able to place these cultists here in order to control and win the game. And then also you'll have some of these little ooze tokens that every time that they ooze, you'll be able to place them on different spaces, and will allow the Cthulhu guys to slide around the game board. One other thing that also comes with the board, if you decide to do it too, is some origami paper that you can fold up, and eventually you can make it into one of these little Cthuluchadores that you can use 3-dimensionally, and you can move them around the board and they can kind of grapple with each other that way. So it's kind of a cool 3-dimensional aspect for this game. Okay, let me get this game set up for a 2-player basic game, and I'll explain to you how to play. Okay, I've got this game set up for 2 players, and what I have done is I have taken the basic move cards here of Shamble, Counter, and Grapple for each player, and I've placed them off to the side. So I've done this for the blue and the red player. I've taken the stack of cultist tokens, and I put them in a pile here along with the ooze tokens. Now what I have done in order to set the game up here is that at the beginning of this game, each player will place 1 ooze token in the ooze pit directly behind where they start, and then they will start off with 2 of the cultist tokens in their corner. So we've done this right here. Now this game has some bit of an area control, which I'll get into in a little bit. Also, now what we're going to do is I've taken the 2 Cthulhu wrestlers that are going to go against each other, and I've placed them in the center of the ring. Now the cool thing is you can do your own announcements and everything else here because they give you a little script, so you can do this starting off here. Weighing in at 220 pascals, this blue bomber has a face of a sea anemone not even a mother can love. His signature moves focus on his many tentacles and upper body strength. Let's hear it for Azul Abhorrence. And he's like, yeah. And then finally, in the other corner, the presence from Pluto, the color from Carnage. Retching Roja will illuminate your soul with atomic radiation. Retching Roja loves damage, embraces damage, embodies damage to all things. Again, it's Retching Roja. And you're like, ah. So you got your little ring introductions. Next, what you're going to do is you're going to take these damage counters and you're going to take that to where it says the basic game, and you will slide it in here to where we will have 3 health and 2 squirt. And 3 is the amount of damage they have before they are defeated, and the squirt here is every time that they perform a shamble move, how many ooze tokens will be released. So let me quickly go over these types of cards here. The action is kind of like a rock, paper, scissors, and there's going to be dominance. There's 3 types of moves: grapple, shamble, and counter. So let's look at the grapple card here. And the grapple card says close and deal damage. It says close. Before domination, move 1 space towards your opponent. And then it says deal damage. Cause 1 point of damage to opponent. Limitation: opponent must be in front of Cthuluchador. So they would have to be in front of each other. Now, there is a danger zone, essentially, for all of these guys. And if we look here, let's look at their token. And if you notice this ring on the outside here, that is essentially their reach, where they can reach with their tentacles. So, in essence, this character could be over here, and I could grapple him, and I could move over towards him there. So, I could reach him there. But if he's behind me, I cannot perform a grapple move. So you will be able to do that. So close, you'll be able to move in towards there, and then also with the little arrow, you must be facing towards them. So they have to be in your area to be able to grab them in order to deal damage. Next, we have what's called shamble, and this says place ooze and slide. So this says place ooze, place your squirt value and ooze counters. 1 must go in your location. So if you decide to shamble, you would place one of these little squirt things here, and then maybe 1 over here. And then to slide, he'd be able to just slide along his ooze. So that's going to be how that particular action works. And then finally, there is counter, which is reverse opponent and change facing. And what we're going to do with that is, it says move opponent's counter to any location and facing. So if I choose to counter, I could move him over here, and I could actually turn him around so he's facing the other direction, if I so choose. And then change facing of your own counter. So I could essentially, if I threw him over there, I could turn him so that I'm facing towards him, so that I would have the advantage. Okay, now there's going to be what's called dominance here, and it has a specific dominance order where if we look on the game board itself, there's a nice little chart here, and I'm going to zoom in so you can see here where it says grapple will dominate shamble, shamble dominates counter, and counter dominates grapple. So how that's going to work here, and I'm going to leave this zoomed in on the board here, is that we are going to, at the same time, simultaneously, we will choose a card and we will place them face down. So for example here, if I place this one down and I place this one here, and simultaneously reveal, I have a grapple and he has a shamble. So what's going to happen now is I'm going to establish dominance because grapple dominates shamble. So what I will be able to do at the end of my round is I will place a cultist token. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grapple him, and I will deal him 1 damage. So he's going to go down to 2 health and 3 squirt. Now what's going to happen now is he's going to shamble, and what he will do is he will place an ooze token here. Maybe he wants to throw one out in the crowd here, which will kind of block me from stuff. And maybe here. And then what he's going to do is he's going to slide. So he slides out of the way. And that's that particular action right there. Again, now we will go again. And for example here, if he decides to grapple and counter, we look here. Red is going to grapple, blue is going to counter. Counter, again, dominates grapple. Actually, at the end of that one, he would place a cultist token in the crowd here. At the end of that round, he would add a cultist token. So right here, while they're facing each other, this counter grapple, counter actually goes over grapple, so what I will be able to do is move him, face him this other direction here. First, he wouldn't be able to necessarily pull me in. And again, I would dominate, so I would place another cultist token here. So this is going to continue on, and they're going to continue to battle each other, turning around, moving around the ring, and essentially trying to squeeze the ooze out of each other and win the match. The way that this match will end is either you reduce your opponent's health down to 0, or you have placed 7 cultist tokens on the board. Now, once a cultist token has been placed, you cannot change over the fans here, but you can, if you want to, throw some ooze on them, squirt some ooze on them. And another, so you can do that. And then when you place these cultist tokens, they have to be placed adjacent. So you could go over there like that, but now he can't slide on that particular thing. So you're going to be able to do this. Another thing that you can do, too, in order to place an extra cultist token, is you can actually intimidate your opponent. So if you dominate, you can make any kind of gestures that you want, and if they crack a smile or whatever, you will win the taunt, and you will be able to place an additional cultist token on the board. So there's that bit of aspect of, make me smile going on. So anyways, this is pretty much how you play Los Cthuluchadores. This is a 2-player simple game. In the advanced game, there are signature moves that are going to give you a lot more options as to how to play the game. You can also play 3- and 4-player free-for-alls, where you can make your own little Cthulhu-esque battle royales in the ring. And that is Los Cthuluchadores. Okay, let's talk about Los Cthuluchadores. And first of all, let me talk about the fact that this is a unique concept of taking 2 cult favorites. You've got Cthulhu and luchador wrestling, and putting them together to make a game. So definitely one of the most unique concepts that I have seen for a game. Now, with this game, there's a couple different things that are going on that change the level of complexity. First of all, what I showed you in the gameplay was a basic game, and there's essentially just the 3 types of moves. There's counter, grapple, and shambles. So those are the 3 choices that you have, and it's like rock, paper, scissors. So you're going to reveal your cards at the same time and see what happens. But unlike rock, paper, scissors, if there's a tie, if you choose the same action, the actions will resolve, but there's no dominance being established. So you can still do specific things, but you won't be able to place a cultist token during that particular round. Now, in that game also, you have area control, and that's when you place the cultist markers that are around. And the neat thing is that you can squirt ooze around the board, and you can establish essentially your cultist markers near an ooze, and you can kind of block how your cultist tokens are going to be placed, for your opponent. So there's quite a bit of that in there. So you've got the area control with the cultist tokens. So I like that. Now the game also has an advanced mode, an advanced game, where each of the players will have signature moves, and there's a whole stack of different moves that can be chosen and played at the same time, just like the basic game, except there's more things that are going on. Now, this game definitely has a lot of options on how to play. I showed you a single player, 2-player matchup, single versus single. You can play this as a 2-player game, you could play it as a 3-player free-for-all, where essentially it's like a little mini battle royale. You could play it as a 4-player free-for-all, where it's really like more of a battle royale going on. And then finally, you can play it as a 4-player, but you could do tag teams. So you have all of those elements of wrestling that you can add into this game to vary the type of gameplay in which you can play. Now, looking at this game from a family perspective, this game is strictly a whole lot of fun. For younger players, it's a way to kind of introduce Cthulhu mythos without getting into all of the horror, because it's presented more in a comedic fashion and how they characters are introduced and some of their moves that they have called. So you can do that, and then most kids are probably familiar with different types of wrestling and some of your Cthuluchador type wrestlers that have crossed over and made it more popular, like Rey Mysterio and WWE and stuff like that. So so they're familiar with that kind of stuff. Now, it's also very social because you're playing, and it's a lot of, and definitely a whole lot of, it's take that, but it's friendly take that. So you're kind of like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to grapple with you. And so there's a lot of social interaction. So this game definitely gets a bunch of people together and play them around the table. I see this game being great with kids, teenage boys. They will eat this up like crazy. Now, you could also probably get some girls to play, but they might not be into it because, like, ew, girls, Cthulhu. But definitely with the boys. And I can also see this with guys in their early 20s just getting, you know, having a few beers and sitting around and playing this particular game and just having a heck of a lot of fun with it. So, this game itself, I like this game. It's very unique in its makeup, and it's just a fun, simple take that, moving around, you know, bashing each other, trying to squeeze the life out of each other. And the cool thing too is I like the fact that the tentacles of the Cthulhu are used in the game to actually grab on and move stuff. So they've done a really good job that way in the overall game mechanics. So if you are interested in taking on the role of Cthulhu-esque luchador wrestler and getting into the ring and getting it on with some of your other fellow Cthuluchador fans, and trying to influence all of the fans and make them your cultists, then take the time to pledge Los Cthuluchadores, Elder Things in the Wrestling Ring. It's currently on Kickstarter. Alright, that's it for now. Join me again next time as we take a look at another game and see how we make it to the table.